Hi everybody, and welcome to another one of our video visitations on a day that turned out to be pretty good. It began gray and foggy and kind of rainy. Not good for my soul. But you know, it's kind of burned off and it's warming up outside and it's not too bad. I just been over at the school, but that's another story. Been over at the school and the kids are out running around like it was the 4th of July with no coats on or nothing. So everything's looking up, weather-wise anyhow. It's looking up in other ways too, because our video visitations, why they have risen to a new level of distinction. Because on today, look who we got with us. A former chancellor of the glorious diocese of, perpetually glorious diocese of Kansas City, St. Joseph, Mr. George Noonan, and his beautiful wife, Maureen Noonan, who was a long-time kindergarten teacher here. And the reason that these two esteemed pillars of the parish are joining us today is because they're packing up their Conestoga wagon and whipping the back end of the mule and hauling back to New England, where they're from. And frankly, we're not happy about that. You know, losing people like this is a hard thing to do. But because they've been with us for so long and their presence in the parish has been so fruitful, we asked them to come and just kind of talk about it a little bit today. So George and Maureen, how long have you guys been in Visitation Parish?
We actually moved out here to Kansas City in 1984, and for a month we lived in the convent of St. Francis, so we were attending Mass at St. Francis. And then once Maureen came out with the two babies at the time, one of them 3, one of them 6 months, we finally found a house here on 55th Street, and that's when we established our relationship here. So
not that we didn't love living at the convent.
That's right.
It was great fun. Great fun.
The convent had been staffed by the BVM, the school had been staffed by the BVMs, and they had just moved out. The school was still functioning, but the residence was available. So I slept in Mother Superior's quarters with one of our children, and Maureen was in the one air-conditioned room, which was the common room, with the baby.
I had never been so hot in my life as when we moved to Missouri. I had beautiful long hair. I chopped it all off. I was like, take it all. Yeah, it was hot.
It was hot.
It was July.
It still is hot.
Yeah.
Well, you came out in August, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, how come you did come out here?
I actually came out here to work for the Center for Pastoral Life and Ministry. Bishop Sullivan, who was the bishop at that time, was the one that had established that. And when I came out to interview in March, was before our second one was born, because he was, as I said, only 6 weeks old when we got here. And I remember going back home and saying to Maureen, there are hills out there, because we just assumed everything would be flat.
Well, I had to look it up on a map, which is pitiful, but just figure out where the heck we were headed.
Don't feel bad. They'll have to look up where New England is.
There you go.
But that was the reason that we came out and started our lives out
For
here.
your job, the Center
For my
for
job, which we promised my parents, who weren't happy about us taking 2 children away, that we'd be out here 5 to 7 years.
That was the plan.
And it's been about 30?
38 and a half.
38
38 and a
years
half.
on the 5-year plan.
Wow, holy cow.
Yeah, we're a little behind schedule.
Well, what did you do for Center for Pastoral Life and Ministry?
I was the director, and once I got here, I was the 5th director, the 4th director in 5 years. So I stayed in that role for 10 years.
Wow.
And then under Bishop Boland was when I was named chancellor, and did that for another 10 and a half years.
Doggone.
So 21 and a half years with the diocese. Good years, good experience. Worked with you, of course. In fact, you were ordained 2 years after I got here. I believe you were ordained in 86.
Yeah, that's right, man. You got a memory.
And
I remember seeing you down there in a little pair of overalls, as I recall.
Yep.
Yeah, that's my.
Sounds kind of like you. Yeah,
That's
it's
my.
possible.
Still has those.
I don't blame him.
wouldn't have that pair.
Once you love him.
Yeah, well, so Center for Pastoral Life and Ministry, and you ran the place in its halcyon days,
That's correct.
and then became chancellor.
That's right.
Of the two jobs, which did you prefer?
You know, each brought its own uniqueness, and the nice thing about the activity with the center is a lot of regular activity with the parishes. I had that in the role as chancellor as well, and loved that job. And I know you didn't love it so much. Loved that job. But it was more dealing with probably our priests, deacons, staff members, and some parishioners. So I was involved in some of the mergers, like when Risen Christ and St. Joseph came together to become St. Monica's. So you had contact there, but it was not always happy contact.
No. No, we did work in different seasons for different bosses
That's correct,
with,
too.
with different challenges.
I would agree with all those, and I think I was the more fortunate one.
Perhaps in some ways, yeah.
Bishop Sullivan was such a treat, and I'm so glad we had the chance to know him.
Yeah, he was a good guy.
Oh,
Yep.
the best.
Yeah, a good guy.
With a fantastic memory, and could remember people. And
The most
when I
amazing-
interviewed for this job, he said, "Oh, you live in northwestern Connecticut. Ron Dower lives there. He was a volunteer with me in Chicago, whatever number of years ago. And then he could say what his mother's name was and
Yeah.
other things. It was just
Everything I'm not good at, he was.
I
great
learned a
at.
lot from him in that regard.
He was amazing. Well, you know, from my point of view, you were a darn good chancellor.
Well, thank you.
Yay.
And I know a little bit about being chancellor. So I think you were a darn good one.
Well, thanks.
Did you replace Dick Carney?
I did. Right. Who had replaced Bob Hogan before that.
Yeah.
But yes, yeah, Dick Carney was my predecessor.
Okay.
And then you were my successor.
I was.
I don't think you made it to 10 years in that particular role, but
No, I think I was 6 maybe, and then move over to
Yeah.
Vicar General.
right.
As you know, there's a lot of fluidity between those jobs, and a lot of what you do has to do with what the bishop wants you to do.
Yes.
Anyway, they're just
Nicely said.
tough jobs. So thank you for doing
Well,
it.
thank you. And I remember many a Friday afternoon talk when you needed a dispensation or a permission for a marriage, and we would have a long pastoral talk with one another.
I appreciate your patience.
Well, thank you, and yours too. You did great ministry out there.
Well, you're very kind, sir. Very kind. So you came out for Center for Pastoral Life and Ministry in Chancery, and then you came out with little children,
Yes.
and I'm guessing you spent initially a lot of time raising them.
Yeah, I had gotten my teaching degree and then never really wanted a classroom. I don't ask me why. It's the Maureen plan. So, you know, I was raising our kids, and then eventually I was trying to do artwork on the side. But eventually I ended up taking in kids and doing daycare. And Bridget Wingett, who works at the school, also was doing daycare at the time. So Bridget eventually got a job at Viz, and then she's kind of the reason why she was like, why don't you try out for this, you know? So, you know, I blew the dust off the old degree, and
How providential
up.
that invitation was.
well, and then it turned out to be the love of my life. Sorry, George. A love of my life. How about
Well
that?
said.
Oh,
Well, yeah, you became the grande dame of the parish
Oh.
kindergarten.
Oh, well, it was lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they were such good years. The parents, I mean, you know, you get the kid, but you also get the parents. It was just, they were wonderful years. You know, not everything's smooth sailing, but yeah, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Well, neither would we.
Thank you.
Neither would we. How blessed we were with you working in our school.
And now I see all these grown-up people. I mean, even as a teacher, kids would come in that were friends of our kids, and it's
Right.
their kids are in kindergarten. I mean, it's just, it was home.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And so you guys bumped along with Visitation for all those years.
We did.
And
We got our names under the predella. And
That's right. There was a one Sunday before they put the tiles down that everyone signed.
I've heard about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And now you're both retired,
That's correct.
and you have determined to go back from where you came.
Yes,
That's right.
roughly.
You're from Massachusetts?
I'm from Springfield,
I'm
Massachusetts,
Vermont.
and Maureen's Woodstock, Vermont. Not the rock concert Woodstock.
Yeah,
The
no.
Vermont one, not
But
the
a
New
lot of
York.
tourists came there thinking it was.
Right.
And then bitterly disappointed. Sorry.
And you, I mean, I don't, pardon me, I don't want to get too invasive here, but
Oh,
you
invade.
have bought a house neither in Vermont nor Massachusetts, but actually in Connecticut. Isn't that right?
Yes.
That's correct.
But all those little states, they're all,
Right, kind of munched
And we had
together.
actually lived in Connecticut for 8 years. I did 3 years of graduate school down in New Haven, and then took a job with the Archdiocese of Hartford, working with Catholic students in 6 private boarding schools. So I was kind of like a circuit rider, like a Methodist circuit rider, and a regional high school as well. So, so 5 years doing that, so 8 total in Connecticut.
And I guess you went back, and I guess I need to be mindful of our time here, but you went back there. I guess you have family back there. That's why you
Yes.
want to
Right.
go.
Yeah.
And are your children back there?
sort of, in the area.
Two of them, our son Matthew and his wife Deanne, and our 2 grandchildren live in Ithaca, New York.
Okay.
So it's a little over 4 hours.
About 4 hours to there from where we're going to be living. And then our son Philip lives up in the Boston area. And so that's about 2 hours and 15 minutes away. And then I have several of my siblings from a large family, originally 8 children. And several of them are within an hour and 10 minutes from that. So it's just the right time. We're in good health.
Yeah.
And it's a good time. This move has been exhausting, although Maureen's done the lion's share of it. It just
I'm kind
to
of
get
the grunt
set-
work, and he's doing all the brains behind the things. So between the two of us, we're getting her done.
But this parish has meant a lot to us in those years, and we both have been deeply involved in various ministries. In fact, even our memories when we first were here was the old setup where masses were happening simultaneously here in the upper church in Ty Hall.
Which our son called the drum church at the
drum
time
church.
because there was a little combo down there.
People that will remember Joe Schlegel, he was part of that band that would play at that particular mass. And just great memories, good formation for ourselves and for our children. The school was a great place for them. So we have happy memories. And then even when we started doing this whole project of building the church, I was very involved in various committees, and that was meaningful as well.
So you went back, you scouted New England, you bought a house. Are you excited about the house? Is it a cool house?
Oh, yeah. It was made in 1795,
Wow.
which I love that. It's got the wide pine floors, everything's uneven, there's cracks in the wall. I'm happy as a clam. So,
Versus this modern 1910 house that we live in, which we love too.
that's too modern. Yeah, so, I'm just very excited about it. It has, the best thing of all is it has a flat driveway.
I know where you live now is like, yeah.
And there's like a thing where you open the door and your car can go inside it and stay out of the weather. It's called a garage. We've never had one of those. So we're just pumped.
Right.
Was that built in 1794 also?
No, that was a
Probably
later
not.
addition. Probably that was in the, I would guess, 1940s or 50s.
But it does have like a stone where you can get out of your buggy and step on it. Not get
So bring your buggy
not
along
get your
the
feet
next
dirty.
time you're out in Connecticut.
I'm very excited.
Now,
No, we were targeting, we actually were looking at 5 different counties in Massachusetts, Eastern New York, and Connecticut, and finally found this one. So what happened during the pandemic is many people from New York City fled the city, which was only about 2 hours away from these regions, and were
And
buying up a
stole
lot
all our
of all
houses.
the houses that so we were fortunately find this one.
Yeah, we're getting discouraged.
now, I know the home you live in now is a pretty big place. You having to downsize a lot?
No, kind of shape changed.
This one's 3,050. The new one's 2,880, I think.
Well, that's not too much, I guess.
No, it was not the plan. We were looking to go to about 2,000, but life happens, and
Right.
a section. I think what happened by previous owners, they built a place for an in-law, and so it's an apartment. We'll use that for storage and guest room and that kind of thing. So really, probably.
But do we
a lot
get to
less.
tell them who took our house?
Oh, sure.
Are we allowed?
Yeah.
Nick and Catherine Gard bought our house.
Keith and
Keith and Jane
Jane's
Gard and Kevin
son.
and Erica
Wow.
Sweeney's
Daughter.
So they have bought our house, and they have little peeps, and those little peeps are going to go to visitation
Visitation.
school, and
Great.
it just feels absolutely perfect.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
we're so
we're
excited.
delighted to see another
Yeah.
family. And we had purchased the house from a family of 6 children, where the husband had died when he was 50, and the Welsh family. And so it's been a family house for many years. We're just excited that it's going to continue as.
Yeah.
So.
Have you found a parish?
We got to shop.
I
I
understand.
got to
The
check
town-
the music. There'll
the
never be
town
another
has-
Alejandro, so I don't know.
The town of Watertown has 2 parishes, but they've been yoked, so it's the same pastoral team. There are 2 Catholic schools from when there were 2 parishes. It's a very Catholic area, as you know, that part of the New England.
Yeah.
And so we'll have to see. But towns like Waterbury are nearby, which there are probably 6 Catholic parishes. Litchfield's just up the road, so. But it's going to be hard to replace the dynamic spiritual life we've had here at Visitation. And we're just so grateful to all the people who have ministered here in various capacities through the years.
Yes.
And that we'll miss dearly.
It's been home.
Well, we will miss you. You know, I think about you folks in somewhat the same category as the Maraskis. You're kind of pioneers in professional lay ministry in the church. And, you know, now we're seeing that pioneer generation retire.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a momentous deal. Frankly, I wish that, I don't like that, use that word professional, but it's the best one I can think of. I wish that we had a more discernible and identifiable and dependable lay ministry core in the diocese than we do. I know you worked very hard to
Right.
make that happen.
And some of it got undone, but it can be brought
For,
back.
for a while, you know, it was there.
Right.
But it does need to be brought back, and it really needs to be brought back. I just don't think there's any way around it. But that, of course, is for people with higher pay grades than me.
Well, it's the planting the seed, and it's still there, and the fruits of it are still there. Maybe have been somewhat obscured, but that doesn't mean that will be long lasting. It's kind of very Pauline in that sense.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Somebody plants and somebody waters. So I'm very optimistic that it will work out. And I think with our Holy Father, Pope Francis, I wish him well and continue the synodality of the church. I really think it'll be good to see what happens from the whole process.
I'm hopeful about the synod process. I hope good things come of it also. Well, you're going to be missed
you.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right back at you.
Right.
So much. And I hope you have a long, happy, healthy life out there.
Well, I appreciate
you.
that, and we hope all of you here at Visitation the same.
Well, thanks. You know, don't be strangers. Maybe you'll come back. Do you have any children here?
None of them settled here, which
Wow.
is, contributed to the moving. That in the heat of the summer.
Except
I
for the
never
6 million
adjusted to it.
children I taught, which I consider my
Right.
children, but other than that,
Well,
none of the official ones.
If you ever come back to see them, please come back and see the rest
Thank
of
you.
us.
We will.
All
We
right.
would.
Well, I know I'm getting low on my time. I just want to say our parish capital campaign feasibility study is well underway now. Everybody's going to be contacted somehow to either be interviewed, member of a focus group, or receive a survey. When you encounter those invitations, I do wish you would respond in a positive way so we can do a good job with our feasibility study. Thanks so much, everyone. I'll see you next week. Until then, goodbye and God bless.
Thank you.